Hey, what's going on, guys? Today I am going to be talking about. Let me pull it up here. I am not prepared. I'm going to be talking about Toy Story from the title of this video. The reason I'm going to be doing this is because I recently watched all the Toy Stories over again because I had been going through a lot of Double Toasted's reviews on movies and I came across their Toy Story 4 review and I had thought about it and realized that I haven't seen Toy Story 4 geez, in its entirety. So I figured why not just go back and watch 1 through 4 because Double Toasted gave a great review about the fourth one, and I figured why not go back to my childhood and watch the whole entire series. And so that's what I did over, I think it was a 2 day period. I watched, I believe, 1 and 2 in one day, and then 3 and 4 the next day. Typically, when I do a series review, I try and watch all the movies in one day, but for some reason, I wanted to split up and make it into 2 days instead of just one full day of myself sitting and not doing anything. So let's talk about the first Toy Story. So the first Toy Story came out in 1995. I believe, and don't quote me on it, but I believe it was Pixar's very first like feature length movie that they had made, and it was groundbreaking. It really showed people that this is what we can really do with animation because Disney's always been known for animation and stuff like that ever since the early 30s with Steamboat Willie and Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs in I believe 1939. And so in 1995 they really showed, what animation can do. And the one thing that they did with Toy Story that made animation a little bit different is it was for kids mainly, but it was also, you could say, a family movie because adults could watch it and adults could see some of the sort of little bit of adult humor that Toy Story has in it that kids don't understand, but also the bigger meaning of the Toy Story movies and stuff like that. And so the first movie was very groundbreaking, and Pixar and Disney realized that, look, we've got something good going for us. We might as well make more of these because people are going to go and watch these. And so in 1999, Toy Story 2 came out. And with Toy Story 2 came new characters, came different adventures and stuff like that, which a lot of people like when it comes to these movies is the different types of adventures that these toys get into. And also with Toy Story 2, since most people had already seen the first Toy Story, they knew most of the main characters. So with the second one, they were really able to just sort of jump right into the action and get right to the point of the story, what's going on, and stuff like that. And it made for a really good movie. And the one thing I really liked about the second one is the way that they were able to show different types of toys. And the way that they did that in the second one was going to a actual toy store and showing off, the Barbie dolls and Emperor Zurg and all the different toys that either kids have grown up with or have seen. They put into this toy store to really implement the whole idea of what they could really do with these toys. And then they took a period of time where Toy Story wasn't really a thing because, like I said, Toy Story really launched the whole animation and Pixar Studios in 95. And then when they made the second one, I think the second one was really like that put it into the ground like, look, we can really make different types of animation movies. And so that's what they did. And they made a lot of animated movies from then on out. I think it was, I believe, every single year. Still to this day, they might have maybe missed a year or two where they were busy with a movie or not. But it was like every single year you were looking forward to a new Pixar movie. And some of them did, or I'd say most of the Pixar movies did really well and spawned sequels like Toy Story. But I feel like, and this is my opinion, I feel like all Pixar movies are good, but when it comes to Toy Story, it's very hard to beat the Toy Story franchise as far as animation Pixar movies go, because to me, every single one of them is flawless. When I heard that they were making a fourth Toy Story, I kind of questioned it because I was like, well, they already made three and it's a perfect trilogy, so why make a fourth? But when they made the fourth, then I realized, like, these people can really do something. So in 2010, if that's right, yep, 2010, they released Toy Story 3, which would have been 10 years since the last Toy Story. And with Toy Story 3, it's essentially the same premise. The ending is a little different. The ending is, I'd say this movie is a really sad, bittersweet ending, but it really shows how much an animated movie can make you cry if you really think about it. But yeah, with Toy Story 3, it's when you think about it, all the Toy Stories have the same layout, and that's that something happens, they have to go on some sort of adventure, and they do that, and then it's always sunshine and rainbows at the end of the day, no matter what the outcome is going to be. And so with the third movie, like I said, ever since the second movie, they wanted to sort of introduce new types of toys and new types of, like plot devices throughout the series to give you an idea of what they can do. And so they decided to go to a daycare, and they showed, uh, the other sort of main characters that were going to be in the movie. And another thing I really like is they started this with the second movie with Jessie, how they showed sort of her backstory and how she came to be and or how she ended up where she was. And then the same thing goes for uh, Toy Story 3 with Lotso, the purple bear that's in this movie. Woody was able to get sort of an idea and information as to why Lotso is how he is. And one of Lotso's other friends that was a toy as well, owned by the same kid, it sort of gave the backstory to why Lotso is the way that he is. And so I like those types of things because it gives the characters more depth to it. It may not necessarily give them an arc, which is fine, but it gives you an idea and backstory of where these sort of toys and characters came to be. And so Toy Story 3 was a really good movie. And then they came out with Toy Story 4. And when did Toy Story 4 come out? Back in 2019, which is, geez, not even a couple years ago this came out. And with Toy Story 4, I absolutely loved Toy Story 4. It's one of those movies where I was talking about earlier where I was a little skeptical about Toy Story 4 because they had already made Toy Story 3 and they had a trilogy, and on top of that, they had a perfect trilogy. So why would you want to ruin it with a fourth movie? Because a lot of the times when you have a trilogy and then they decide to make a fourth movie, typically the fourth movie isn't as great, and then it spawns more and more and more movies, and they just get worse and worse and worse, and it just ruins the franchise and makes it crumble. But with Toy Story 4, they did an incredible job with this movie. Again, they put in new toys, and the way that they did it, I absolutely loved how they used the antique shop and showed that there was, toys that were around the same age range as when Woody came out, because Woody came out in the I believe mid to late 50s, along with the uh, the other toys that were in the antique shop. And you really got to get a feel for these different toys that were abandoned. And they also show that Woody gets reunited with Bo Peep. And I liked what they did with Bo Peep in this movie because nowadays you see a lot of movies where they want to have a very strong sort of uh, like womanly figure in the movie, which I'm all for. But a lot of times when they do that, they really make it their narrative to show that off, which I feel like is a little jarring for some people. But what they did with Bo Peep is they didn't make it very meta as far as like showing like having her make lines saying, like, that she's, strong and independent and stuff like that. What they did was they just showed it. They didn't have to tell you. They just showed it. And so you could tell that she was very strong and independent, and they did it in a way that worked really well. And another thing I love about Toy Story 4 is that the writing in it is very tight. It's a very tight script. You could tell the people who wrote this movie did a really good job at making sure that this movie wasn't going to flop, and it didn't whatsoever. It's one of the few exceptions in movie history where it's a fourth movie that is extremely well done and it fits in with the trilogy. So for my ratings, Toy Story 1, I'm going to give a 5 out of 5. Toy Story 2, a 5 out of 5. Toy Story 3, I'm going to give it a 4.5 out of 5. And Toy Story 4, I'm going to give it a 5 out of 5. This, by far, is the one movie franchise where I can say that it is perfectly flawless. It's polished in every way possible. And it's one of the very, very, very few movie franchises that I can say that, because there are only so many movie franchises that have been able to reach and impact so many people. And with Toy Story, it's one of those where it does it in such a good way because they started in 1995 and they ended in 2019. That is 24 years. So if you think about it, people who first saw Toy Story in 1995 when they were 6 years old, they've grown up with these movies and following along with all these characters that they have. And I appreciate that. I appreciate the persistence that they have. I like that Disney and Pixar really took their time with these movies. The first and second were about 4 years apart, which is average for sequels, is right around 2 to 4 years. But then between two and three, they took 10 years. And then 3 and 4, they took almost another 10 years to really figure out what the audience would want. And like I said, I appreciate everything about that. So I hope you guys enjoyed this sort of talk about the Toy Story franchise. It's a different video than what I normally do. Like I said, I wanted to talk about it because I recently rewatched them, and I just feel like I had to get my sort of review and my input of these movies out there just to give you an idea of where I come from, because I do watch movies outside of horror. I watch all different types of movies. Um and yeah. So if you guys would like to, you can comment down below if there's any other movie franchises or just movies in general that you would like me to cover next, because I think what I'm going to start doing is I'm just going to expand into different genres altogether, and I'm just going to review movies because that's what I want to do. Like I said, it's going to be mainly horror focused, but I do want to make videos on different genres of movies because I just love the film and cinema area. That's one of the things that I'm very passionate about. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you enjoyed it, please hit the like button. It helps reach tons more people. If you really want to support me, I have a Patreon that's linked down below. You'll get videos in advance, 2 to 3 days in advance, which is a huge plus. It costs $5 a month. You can cancel at any time. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.